there is a concept called the reverse mentoring. So if you systematize that, then the system becomes more agile, more adaptive, and there the Gen Z has got a greater
So
contribution.
we have in our organization this same concept called reverse mentoring. So because what happens is, like, at a senior level, you don't want changes. You don't want to learn new technology because systems are changing so rapidly. You don't want to. So they are the ones. There is a reverse mentoring that's a full process in place to help the senior most folks
to prepare. I think that is the right strategy to prepare the whole system to be adaptive. So all should be ready to any change and to come constant. Exactly. So I think our CEO, Mr. Chakravarthi, would be the person who is, who has got a wider range on his hand. So what would be your take?
Well, taking a cue from all my colleagues, I can't agree with all of them anymore. In fact, we often have complaints. Now, I'm also a senior citizen, if 60 is the number. We often have complaints on the Gen Z, but I have great respect to the people. Looking at my children and the way they think beyond impossible and all, I really admire. Many times we think that they take decisions hastily and then they don't know, they don't foresee. These are the complaints of all the seniors like us, but in reality it is different. As you said, actually now I have 40 years experience in manufacturing. Way back in 1984 I started my career. So looking at it, agility versus firefighting. Firefighting is an essential element in every organization, but that alone will not keep up. If you do not have agility within the system, for longer run of the organizations, it's very difficult. I'll try to give a couple of examples from that. See, actually, I always believe if your team thrives only in the case of pressures, I think that's not the thing. That's not agility, definitely. You're going to fail. And it's adrenaline dependency. And if you talk about pharmaceutical, and I'm in both pharmaceutical and packaging. Pharmaceutical world, we don't have a luxury of what you call winging it. We don't have. So we need to go under this regulatory framework of USFDA, UFMD or DSSCA systems and all. We always have to be on our toes. You don't scramble for compliance, you architect it. And coming to during COVID, Phani has mentioned also and Komal also mentioned. See, packaging was not just a box then. It was a lifeline. Many people the global supply chain conflict was there. We're not getting anything. All the ships were blocked. There was no air transport or sea transport. Everything was stopped. But still, we need to perform. We need to serve the patients during that time. We had to pivot the packaging formats overnight that time through suit temperature sensitive vaccines. You all know. See, luckily we have the vaccines in hand, but the vaccines cannot be safeguarded if its efficacy cannot be safeguarded, and we could not import at the right time. So accommodate the new last mile constraints and all. I think that required a zero tampering. This really proved our material also at that time. I often ask if you prepare for quality lapses with risk registers. For example, CAPA we talk about. But why don't we prepare for the operational breakdowns also in the same way, which is a very practical term. And I would like to give an example during 2011, the Toyota earthquake. That example is, I think, a lot of, when I go to the business schools also, I often mention this example. So after 2011 Japan earthquake, Toyota resumed production faster than many others, really faster than many others. Why? It's not just by luck, but due to its business continuity plan, which is already in place. They had mapped around 500 suppliers within that time deep into their supply chain system and had alternating source then and there itself. Contrast to this, the many other competitors with other manufacturers, they really scrambled and they took weeks before actually they start their operations. So definitely Toyota did not wait for a crisis to think agile, but they were already structured to flex without breaking. This was the example I used to give. And
Great. That's a great example. And now let's listen to Devi.
Yeah. So maybe agility is not something that's of choice. It's in the DNA. And there's no choice. You have to be extremely agile. And the saying that we go after is success comes when there is strategic planning and there is not enough time. So that's the norm for the startup world. Therefore, agility becomes very important. But I've seen that agility can come when it comes from a fundamental where there is strategy and culture to certain routing, then I think the agility is no more something that's played on the surface but comes from within. So I do believe, and I've seen in startups also, which have core values set forth and core strategies set forth, then the way they flex, as you rightly said, it's more about how you flex without breaking. That comes from that strong fundamentals is what I've noticed. And agility is also about, again, we brought up about different generations that come together, and also different type of people that come together from different backgrounds and different mindsets. So tech people having very different mindset from business people and having different KPIs to achieve too. Tech people are saying, let's try something new, while the business people are like, let's get our commercials right first. So there's always a conflict in terms of different type of people trying to drive the organization in different direction. But you need to be agile, and trial and error is what we've noticed also heavily from startups, because they thrive on trial and error. They can't wait too long to fail, and they have to move quickly. And what we also go by is fail sooner than later. So
fail more and then only you succeed. Even that's also important. Sorry, please continue. Yeah.
So, I'm from Agastya. So, I'm from a manufacturing background, and I can relate to a lot of things which Mr. Chakravarthi has told. And I'm coming from the metals industry, where, the skill or talent is something which is there with the people. And, off late, the world is going very, very fast. That is how it is perceived too. And the generation is now, there is an information overload. At the same time, we need to have highly talented, experienced people are now under pressure to actually adapt to new technologies. Like for the younger generations, it's very easy, because the user interfaces are very good, whether it's a mobile phone or chatting or, even voice commands. So I just take a very simple example. When I actually speak to some of my colleagues and friends in the industry, I'm still used to typing on the phone, whereas the next generation uses voice command. That I can see from my child itself. Their languages are different, their acronyms are different. And now imagine the pressure in the business world on leaders who are there. Like Mr. Chakravarthi is 60, Mr. Phani is there. So, and then, the adaptability has to be there. So the agility has to be there in information gathering, analysis of the data, and also adapting to new technology, which is obviously going to create pressure on the top. At the same time, the reverse mentoring with the Gen Z. Now, the Gen Z values are a little different in life. The older generation wants a very sustainable business. They want to create a legacy. Whereas Gen Z, so far, the stereotype is they're living for the moment. Now, when you're living for the moment, and you want to create a legacy, that partnership has to be done within the organizations. So information is now becoming important. Adaptability is becoming important. And in manufacturing, not just, it's not just the technical stuff. Now, the adaptability is coming to manufacturing in processes. Now, we have like Industry 4.0 was there. Now, there is dark factories. So literally, we are seeing that something like China is already adapting to dark factories, no manpower, everything is automated. Whereas in India, especially for us, for example, we are an MSME. So we have to now go from an industry, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 to 4 and go to the dark factories. And the time is too short. By the time we are actually finishing a day, we are seeing the technology is far more advanced in other countries. Like literally, we are seeing with the US-China war, the manufacturing of everything which we perceive to be one is now very, very transparent. It's just exploded out right now. So it could be whatever you have been in your business, you had some business secrets or how you had done some processes. They're now in the open. So how do you adapt your business to that? What your USPs need to start changing? Maybe the formulas are out right now. So whether it is branding, whether it is your customer reach, IT and, definitely consumer markets are now playing on a much better consumer reach. Like if you look at the new age startups, they're looking at the cost per consumer acquisition. whereas the businesses are still looking at bulk sales. So this kind of adaptability has to be done. That means the companies have to be much more faster. Then at the same time, of course, firefighting is an element for most of the businesses. Without that adrenaline rush, you cannot get some things done.
Yeah,
Like sometimes many people, they just try to become a hero in that junction, but
somebody
that's
to hit a 6 in the last.
correct. Yes, and we enjoy that as well.
Actually, and through that adrenaline, you get things done because, I mean, you think really fast on the spot. So it is also good. Sometimes those chaos is good, but obviously not a long term.
And you cannot grow very far with that kind of system. I totally agree with you that the systems at the tail end need to be strong, because once you move from one level of company to the next one, you cannot thrive on chaos.
Oh, you can.
No, but I think, on that note, aren't the best grades we received was when we prepared the last
Absolutely. I've always done
know,
well.
just before the
Last
exam.
minute, whatever study.
So sometimes, chaos is good, but, to really explain what that is, if the leader or the person who is actually, creating or living in that chaotic situation understands from a lot of noise around, what is a strong signal, and, knows why we have in the first place created that chaos itself. There is a theory to chaos also, right?
Right.
To that extent, if you know the end game,
Yes.
then it is easy to really, work through a chaos and make people deliver a lot of things and still, be able to reach that destination. And see, that's a leader, right? So it's largely your experience, right?
Another point I just wanted to, even though it's a little out of context, when you're talking about the reverse mentoring, I'm very much impressed on the reverse mentoring. In 90s, I underwent one of the 360 degrees appraisal.
Yes.
It's as 30 years old, actually. I think we must implement the 360 days. You will be appraised by your subordinates and subordinate, and then it goes round. It has its flaws, but definitely I like that concept, actually.